The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast, where we talk about daily habits that can help you maintain or raise your energy, to reduce your stress, and improve your happiness and have more joy in your life. I am your host, Jacqueline Smith, here as always with my amazing co-host, Ryan Greigg. We are talking about the High Performance Habits book, the last few episodes, written by Brendon Burchard. And we've already talked through the first couple of habits, seeking clarity, and then energy, right? And now we're going to talk about habit number 3, which is raising necessity. And I know you're pretty fired up about this one, Ryan. The last one was one of my favorites, right? Generating energy. And you were mentioning that you love this topic. Tell us why.
I do, Jacqueline, and I'm kind of getting emotional just thinking about it. All of these topics are so great, and Brendon Burchard is the type of person that anybody can look at and go, gosh, I want to be a little bit more like that guy in all areas, like having energy and having success and just how he shows up and makes a difference. And this idea of raising necessity to me, I think is just kind of special. Like the core idea of raising necessity is that top performers perform better because they must.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that, and I thought to myself, like, well, why must I perform better? And it made me think, and like I said, it made me get a little emotional because, another person that I really look up to in the like personal development world is Ed Milet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow Ed Milet, he talks about being the one. And what he means by that is be the one in your family lineage, be the one that makes the impact, be the one that makes the change and says, my family is never going into that place that we were in the past. And God, I love my father. He passed away in 2017. And I joke, that's where I learned sales, because he used to be a car salesman, and I would sit there in his office. And so anytime people in the real estate world talk about like, oh, don't be a used car salesman, I'm like, man, forget you. Like my dad was a used car salesman, and I embrace that. I used to watch him and I'd say, go get him, Dad. And, I think my dad had a lot of potential that he left on the table. And so when I think about being the one, I always think I got to be the one to do all the things that my dad didn't do. I got to be the one that teaches my son what wasn't taught to me. I got to be the one. And so when it says like, because we must, well, dang it, like we got to be the one. And we might come from an amazing family, but we could do so much. And then I think of another quote from our friend Jacqueline, from Ben Kinney, and he always asks, am I being the person that my dreams require? And so if we're raising necessity within ourselves, then are we being the person that our dreams require? And I think about that a lot. And I think about, am I living up to my full potential? And this chapter is all about that, is raising necessity, doing the things that we got to do, finding the way that's going to be inspiring to us to act on the things that we got to do. And I've hit rock bottom a couple times in my life, and I'm just like, there's no way I'm ever going back to that. And I know what that felt like, and I know what being broke and out of shape felt like, and having the necessity to work out of that, it just sits with me a lot. So yeah, I get passionate on this section, and I really love it.
Yeah, I do too. And, I think about just different times in my life where, like, for example, when I started in real estate, I wrote my kids and my family a letter and I put it on the fridge. And I mean, that created a lot of accountability for me, or with my team. And I know Ben says this a lot too. He says, I make promises to people so that, I have to show up and be my best. And Brendon asked the question, who needs me on my A game?
Yeah.
And I think that part of, leading a team and being a leader is, positionally, I mean, if you take leadership seriously, it automatically gives you necessity,
Mhm.
If you see yourself as a leader, even if you aren't positionally a leader, that gives people that necessity. And I think in the book, he talks about like internal and external necessity. Um, and there's just people I notice there's people that have a higher sense of internal necessity, like they just have higher standards for themselves than other people do. And I don't know really where that comes from, nature or nurture type thing. But I notice it a lot.
I think you're right. I mean, and I think that having that necessity it's a bit of pressure. I'm curious, so Jacqueline, I got distracted because you said this letter to your family. Do you still have that letter?
You know what? I actually don't know if I do or not. But one really cool thing that came from that was my second oldest son. He actually wrote a paper in college about watching me do that, build this business that I told them, like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, this is why I'm doing it. Um, and, and seeing me go after my goals and tackle adversity that came up and actually achieve what I set out to achieve, how much that impacted him. And that was pretty emotional to read.
How much
Um,
did you cry when you read that? Oh my gosh, how cool.
no, I was like a bawling mess. And I actually use that story a lot because I think a lot of I don't know about dads as much, like you can speak to that, but I was a mom and I have quite a few moms on our team. And there's this thing like called mom guilt. And maybe
Mm,
dads have it too. And like it should be called like mom and dad guilt. I don't know. But we have this thing called mom guilt. And we feel like we've got to do everything at home, we've got to be everything at home and everything at work and everything as a wife, and it frankly it can be kind of exhausting. And so a lot of times we feel like, well, I have to maybe let go of some of my dreams because I have to be everything at home. And
mm,
you know I think it's a cool story how maybe I wasn't the mom necessarily like making all the home cooked meals and baking all the cupcakes for class,
mm.
but I was there for all their football games and I was obviously there as a model of, going after your dreams. And that had a really positive impact, maybe more than like the cupcakes would have. I don't know.
I think so. I think what's super interesting about that is that we are in kind of that in between generation. Like my grandmother didn't work. Uh,
Right.
and my mother talks about this sometimes about how kind of easy she had it because she didn't have to work. She had a very stress free life, and so like our grandparents, a lot of the women in that generation were that, whether it was baking cupcakes or like staying home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, our generation has changed that. And what I'm hearing is you are the one that has changed that in your family generation of like, and now imagine how impactful that has been to your kids because yeah, I hear what you're saying about that mom guilt, and I want to give you some credit on the other side of that because you're the one changing that where it impacted your children so much more, and they wrote you a letter saying my mom did all these amazing things. I think they're going to take away that so much more in life than they would have by enjoying those cupcakes. So journal prompt, right? Like journal prompt for checking that box in the 15-point plan. Uh, Write yourself a letter. Write a letter to your family.
Mm-hmm.
How cool would that be to have like you and your family sit down and write each other letters? Or have you ever written yourself a letter? Have you ever sat down with your goals and written yourself a letter of what that might look like at the end of the year? What it might look like to be that person that you want to become and what it will feel like. And now you're putting that out there and now you're making your goals public, which they talk about in this section of raising necessity is purposeful pressure, he says
Mm-hmm.
creating purposeful pressure on yourself by making your goals public, setting deadlines, and tying outcomes. You write your family a letter saying, I'm going to do this. That's a good way to make those things public. And
Yeah, that's really, you're talking about the external necessity, right?
yeah,
That's creating that external necessity. Yeah.
yeah, how cool is that?
Hmm.
So by raising necessity, it just pushes us. Like high performers have this need to, have this drive to, have this thought. I owe it to myself, and I owe it to the people around me. Like you said, Brendon asked himself, "Who needs me on my A game today?"
Mhm.
And I think about that often. Obviously, like our kids probably first come to mind, but if you're a business leader, your business team needs you. And frankly, back to my dad, like one of the greatest gifts my dad would leave the world is every room he would go into and walk away from, somebody would be left with a smile.
Mm.
And in a world as stressful as it is today, everybody that we encounter needs us on our A game. What if we thought about life like that? What if we thought about life where everybody we encounter needs us on our A game, whether that's the hostess at the restaurant we go to, or the bank teller, or our teammates on our team? What if we just left a smile everywhere we went? And what kind of ripple effect could that create? That's pretty cool.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, we're really talking about operating from a sense of purpose, right? Or in some cases, we're creating or manufacturing, I guess I would say, like manufacturing obligation in our
Hmm.
world.
I like that. I like that manufacturing obligation. Yeah, and as you do that over time, you put that pressure on yourself, and then when you need a little bit more of a boost, like we all do, you
Mhm.
just look up and ask yourself, "Who needs me on my A game?" We're gonna run out of motivation. We're gonna run out of energy if we haven't generated that energy, and we're sitting there, not even just being the lump on the log, Jacqueline. Sometimes I'm the entire log. Sometimes I'm like I'm like the whole log. I can't even move. But I think to myself, because I asked this. One of my goals is that, like, when I'm older and my son is older, I just want him to say, like, my dad was a cool dad. My
Mm.
dad worked hard. Like my dad made an impact. Like my dad taught me some cool stuff. I think I shared this a couple episodes ago. We're doing this whole summer workout program where we got to work out every day, or 6 days a week. We got to text into the group, and we're like a month into it. And I shared in the group or with the boys, and I said I did my workout today, and they looked at me like, "Of course you did. You don't miss a workout." And I was so proud. They were joking, but I was like so proud that my 13-year-old son thinks of me like that. Oh, my dad doesn't miss a workout.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
I love that. I know we'll often do for others what we won't do for ourselves. And
Mm,
so I think that, you can have the internal necessity, that those personal standards, self-expectation, and sometimes it's okay to need that external necessity, and like we said, like manufacturing that obligation. And so I know sometimes people don't want to say their goals out loud or their intentions out loud, but Brennan talks about in this chapter about how people who are performing at a high level, they are actually creating this necessity beforehand, right? And so it really helps to separate people from average when you are constantly putting yourself in a situation where now I'm obligated,
yeah.
right? If you have the identity of being someone that does what you say, that follows through on things, and you share your intentions, your goals, then now you are obligated. If you don't really identify as someone that does what they say, then maybe you don't, right? I don't know. Maybe you don't manufacture obligation in the same way.
Right.
But most of us, I think, value integrity and want to be at least seen as people who are people that we can count on, right? Reliable, and someone that does what I say. And so for me, I like to share things on social media. I'm actually, going to go do a live video today. And you know what I did to raise necessity for myself, because it's something that freaks me out,
Huh.
is I posted yesterday that I'm going to go live today.
Ah,
And then this morning I posted again and I said, by the way, I remember I'm going live today. And so that's an example of how you can raise necessity,
that's right.
just sharing things with other people.
Which helps us check off the goals box on the 15-point plan, because
Hmm.
we're taking our goals and we know how much more likely our goals are to happen when
Hmm.
we write them down and when we make them public. Brendon says, set deadlines and make them public. Like when I had thought about doing this Guinness World Record attempt of a double ascent of Kilimanjaro, I'm like, okay, I can think about this thing all I want and I can talk about it in my head all I want. But if I announce I'm doing this on social media or on a podcast, I better go put this stinking deposit down.
Yeah, you got to do it now.
Because I've made this public. I have made this public. And I got to be a man of my word to myself and to the people that are around me, because I don't want to be the guy that next time I see somebody next year, oh, how was that trip? Oh, I didn't do it. Oh, why'd you didn't do it? Oh, I got scared. Like, unless I break my dang legs, I am doing that thing. So
you're locked in now.
I'm locked in. We got this monthly call. I just got some of the workouts. And it's funny because how interesting is this? I created this summer workout program with our kids a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And today they send me some of the workouts that we should be training for, and half of them are the same thing.
Oh, nice.
I got a month head start. Dang it. I'm already doing these squats and all these things. So I'm like, this is perfect. Yeah. So I'm really excited. So raising necessity, be the one. Like, I love how Ed Milet so passionately says that. Be the one that's going to change the trajectory of you and your family. And Ben says, be the person that your dreams require.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next time, we will be going through habit number 4. If you want to follow along with us on social media, you can find us. I'm Jacqueline Ray Smith on Instagram, and Ryan is Ryan Park Greigg. We would love to hear from you. If you listen to an episode and something really speaks to you, make a post about it, tag us in it. If you are trying to raise necessity in a certain area of your life, reach out and tell us about it. Just telling someone else will automatically raise the necessity and make it more likely that you do what you set out to do. We are so thankful for you. You can check out winmakegive.com for any of other of our podcasts. There's some good ones on there. I personally love Brian Gubernick's No Days Off podcast. But we love being on this journey with you. And we will catch you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, Chad Himes here, and I want to let you know about my podcast, Achieve Your Apex, on the Win, Make, Give podcast network. If you're ready to unlock your full potential, then Achieve Your Apex is right for you. Join me as we go on a journey to becoming your best self. Using my best-selling book as our guide, I'll share practical tips, inspiring stories, and fantastic interviews so you can achieve your apex. Whether it's personal development, career success, or mastering your mindset, we've got you covered. Subscribe now to Achieve Your Apex wherever you get your podcasts and start your transformation today.